Welcome to the best hour of their day podcast with your hosts, Jason Fernandez
and me, Jason Ackerman. With more than 20 years in the business,
as both coaches and affiliate owners,
our passion is to help create world-class affiliates
and coaches by building
better boxes. Welcome to
the best hour of your day.
All right, we are back with two very special guests, Karianne and Bill. You guys are the owners slash founders slash everything of Between the Ears. Is that a
that
good?
Is right. We're every department. That's us.
HR, everything. So I definitely want to dive into that. And if you don't see what Bill and Karianne are doing on social media, ton of great stuff from the mental perspective of training. And Bill's been on the show before talking about this stuff. So definitely go back. This was years ago now, right, Bill?
Yeah. A couple of years for sure. Probably 3 years. Pre-COVID.
Yeah. When you were first getting going with it, or at least the public version of it, I should say. And prior to that, I mean, Karianne, you were like a 30-year member of seminar staff. Is that accurate?
Yeah. just shy of the 30-year pin. That a pin.
30-year pin. You were one of the very first, though.
Yeah, I think members. I was 10 years of before I finally stopped. So on and off for 10 years. But yeah, I saw you.
Bill as well.
And Bill as well.
Not as
long.
Not nearly as long.
No, you were just a quick blip on staff there.
Yeah, it was a couple years.
Yeah, but and aside from that, you had one of the OG boxes in New Jersey, crossing Morristown.
Yeah.
How long did you guys have that?
So this would be year 15. So we did actually just sell on July 1st, which was really a big thing. But an awesome situation. One of our coaches, all the members were excited that he was going to take it on. So it was kind of a win-win for us, just kind of passing on the community and the culture that we'd built and seeing someone else pick it up and kind of continue on. So I know sometimes sales of CrossFit gyms aren't always a positive thing, but in this case, it was kind of, like I said, a win-win and kind of closing that chapter, but good to see the gym continuing on. Do
you guys have any interaction there currently?
Yeah, it's been great. We go take a class and then we leave and we're like, bye. Yeah, that's it.
Was it challenging for you? I mean, Bill was a longtime part of it as well, but you started that, right, Kay?
Yeah.
When 15 years ago. Is it hard to show up and not have an input over what goes on?
I think actually because the last few years I have been sort of transitioning out of being there all the time, it doesn't really feel that much different. And because we're busy with other things, some of the stuff that's different than maybe how I would have done it, it's just good to see that it's continuing and someone cares about it. So there is some relief in seeing the rings messed up and being well, I don't have to go fix those for the 900th time. But I'm coaching, I'm covering a class, and it's nice to not have had to sever that relationship, that we can take a class, I'm helping at a coaches meeting, kind of still having some involvement, so it doesn't feel so jarring to just step away.
And what about for you, Billy? I mean, you were still involved for nearly 10 years there.
I mean, I certainly got involved well after Karianne opened. So, I walked into her gym in 2010 and it was already open for 2 years, and that's how we met. And so, I started to get more involved when I was in the Army, and, certainly when I left the military, I kind of jumped in full time. But then probably over the past 3 or 4 years, probably 4 years, I have stepped away from Motown more and stepped towards this kind of, what is this between the ears thing. So I've been out of the picture, day-to-day operations and coaching and stuff like that for probably about 3-4 years now. And my role has simply been, Kay's husband and being an ear and perhaps...
That's a full-time job, right? That's full-time.
I'm honored to be employed.
You know, in all
Hardest job
jokes
you've got.
aside, that is a tough one. But typically, when people think about like, okay, avoiding relationships at the affiliate, it's typically, I think most people think male coach, male owner, female member. This was reversed, right? Kariana's the owner, and then Bill comes in
Late.
What?
He came in late, by the
All right,
way.
we
I
don't
was
need to
like,
talk
who is
about
this?
late to class.
Who is this guy that
don't
thinks
need to
he's,
talk
you know?
about
But
Who's
anyway,
this dreamy guy with a shaved head? What was? How quickly was there a spark?
well, actually, we had a very nice. I was legitimately, when he did come in, I thought like, here's this arrogant guy, fit guy. He's late. Like, threw him to the wolves, threw him to the 9 a.m. housewives for Fight Gone Bad, and was like, let's see how this goes.
That's the first workout at Motown.
Yeah.
Fight Gone Bad with like the 9 a.m. class.
Yeah. Oh, they were, you know,
It was the workout. That
They
was
were
the
all
first,
about it.
Yeah.
Was it? But you were experienced with CrossFit from the military. This wasn't your first
No,
exposure.
so this was the first time I was at a real CrossFit gym.
he was
Other
in the
than
Globo
taking my
gym.
level 1. So I had my level 1, did that down when I was in Texas, but I was doing, I was doing bastardized lowercase c, lowercase f CrossFit in the, corner of a 24-hour fitness in Dallas, Texas at the time. And
I think the best substitute, this will make your back just hurt thinking about it. There were no rowers. So the substitute that he found online
Sumo
for
deadlift high
rowing
pull, right?
was sumo deadlift high pulls for every
Yeah.
yeah, I
oh
did
my
10 meters.
God, no wonder your
millions.
back
Yeah,
is
1 rep
messed
per
up.
10 meters. I just remember being like, fuck, I can't wait to see what a rowing machine looks like because I can't do another whatever lawnmower situation I'm doing here.
Yeah.
And he clearly performed well, and then that was it. Like,
Yeah, it was he only had about a month till he left for basic training. So it was legitimately a lot of, as you do after the workout, people hanging out, doing coffee and sort of chatting from there. But at that point there really wasn't an opportunity for any type of relationship. So in many ways that's what's I think one of the things that made our relationship really what it is. It's like just accepting each other for who we were, not a romantic
I didn't
interest.
have any, there was no like I knew like there was no chance. It wasn't even one of those
there
things
wasn't-
that factored
no
in.
chance.
I'm going into the military. She's like, you know what I mean? Like it's just like that's just not, that's
Wasn't on the
that was
radar.
never actually that wasn't a shiny object,
Yeah.
which I mean obviously there was like, oh wow, this is like very fit, attractive, well spoken, like awesome human, but
High maintenance. He didn't know that at that point.
he didn't know everything.
Yeah.
But two things that I want to talk about. One, it appears very much that you guys lift each other up. Like you guys are a really good support system for one another, at least from what I mean. I think social media shows the best of everything, right? But at least from what I see, there's a lot of, synergy. And I've seen the transition personally of Kariana of like, I remember like Bill, back in the day at regionals, this girl was a hot mess. I mean, we're not even going to talk about that. And now I see her like
Different
digging into the
podcast.
mental aspect, and pushing sleds. And I mean, I love. We're building a house here, and I snapped a lot of your pictures from where you currently are because I love the little gym that you have set up there. But from that perspective, like just, I think that like pushing your significant other is tough. Right, like when Roz is working out, I can't be like, suck it up, buttercup. Like I can't do any of that. So understanding that, but then also from a broader perspective, I think one thing that kind of gets bastardized in the CrossFit world is the idea of intensity. And like, they're like, oh, it's only 100% all the time. And, you guys have given the lectures, been to plenty of level ones where we talk about relative intensity and relative to physical and psychological tolerances. People take that as only like, well, grandma this or that person that. And one thing I've tried to talk about is like physical and psychological tolerances change every day, if not every hour,
Right.
per person.
yes.
So let's start there, and then maybe we can expand on how, if we understand that better, we can better work with /train/push our significant other.
Does your gym take programming seriously? Do your members take progress tracking seriously? TeamBuilder works with performance coaches from CrossFit to the NFL to bring an elevated experience when it comes to program design, tracking, and reporting. Take a free 14-day trial and get complimentary CrossFit programming by using promo code BESTHOUR.
Yeah, I mean, I think, both having been in CrossFit has always been a huge part of our lives, and it influenced us in, ways we'll never be able to fully articulate. But I agree that there's something not missing, but I think under discussed, undervalued, maybe not quite understood with that phrase, like physical and psychological tolerances. So to date, like we really haven't experienced an affiliate or people who are digging into the psychological part. And as you said, relative to their physical, well, people also think about that as you said, grandma or the individual, not for themselves. And so, and I'll let Bill kind of dig into it more, but that's really what between the ears, what we found so fascinating and something that needed more exploring. And that's really what between the ears kind of digs into is the psychological tolerance piece. And so one of the words we hate, but it's out there and it's important, is like mindset. And I think mindset is now just one of those terms that just like it makes us cringe.
Did I say mindset?
No,
I mean,
you're good. You're good.
Oh, good. Okay, I was
kind of like
making sure.
No.
I don't want to be on Karianne's bad side. Been there. Don't want to go back.
it's not it's not that like we need a word for it. It's just that word has been beaten to death and now it's just empty, I feel like, in this space. So that's kind of like what we've been exploring, and I think Bill can kind of speak to the details of that and like how we do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a life-changing sentence. Constantly varied functional movements, high intensity relative to physical and psychological tolerances. That will change lives. And it has changed lives. And there's three of us, these three lives are a part of it. And so as it relates to relative intensity, the physical piece is something that coaches, I firmly believe, are always seeking to do better. It's like what you and Fern are just, gifting the community is that, hey, here's what you can see, what you can coach, what you can interact with. And there's everything from training age to grandma and, generally speaking, like the anthropomorphic or whatever that I can never pronounce that word, but you got all the different things body wise. The psychological tolerance component is a little bit though of the anthropologic and society and culture. Like there's a whole separate thing. And so what informs somebody's quote unquote mindset, and how do we orient and engage with it such that we can hit the high intensity the relative high intensity, as well as account for the normal fluctuation, like you said, day to day, hour to hour. We need to train how to not how to think necessarily, but how to
interact with that.
Yeah, how to check in and how to interact with that. And both as athletes, learning the skill, coaches, learning how to create the container to support that skill. And then kind of, over time, no different than you would progress in any other thing, look to expose yourself to that which you might be stuck with or, pulling you off track.
And I think it's important to note, at some point, I saw something or read something where there was, something about coaches in the CrossFit space starting to do therapy with clients. And I think it's really important to differentiate. We're not Bill now has his license and is doing therapy, but that's separate from what we do at the gym. We're not saying that now coaches should be therapists. It's no different than the physical stuff. This is a skill that can be trained and there's tools to look at it. So some of the stuff we do here, we do a check-in, which is kind of a, not, objective for a coach to kind of go through that list with someone, but just a little bit of a pause for people. Some of it's working on developing awareness. But that's on that person. We're not suggesting that coaches start doing, it's not a whole layer of therapy that we're adding to the mix. So one of the things we've kind of built is a seminar that talks about this stuff, and we think it's an awesome add-on, continuing ed, tool, whatever, for coaches, because I think a lot of the CrossFit coaches are interested in that deeper, we've all understood in CrossFit that there's something intangible beyond just the wall balls and the box jumps. Everybody gets there's this life-changing component. And so I think this kind of fulfills that, and for coaches and members alike, just to take their experience to a little bit of a deeper, more purposeful place. So,
well, and I think with any, I mean, people forget CrossFit is still in its infancy, right? 20 years in, and there's always going to be evolutions. And I think at first, like Bill said, those 6 words are like profound and life changing, and then at some point, maybe it's partly because we're like aging, and you're like, okay, there's got to be more than just smashing our bodies every day. Like there's more to it than just the physical.
yeah.
And I think you're right. Not all coaches will be equipped to handle the mental or the emotional. I think as coaches also age, that's people ask me how I've improved at coaching. I'm just like, well, I've gotten older and I'm less of an asshole, right? So I understand not everybody wants to go hard all the time. And it's like we were joking with Bill. It's like, oh, you're late. Like, oh, you've got 2 kids and like those types of things. But also from the actual just emotional standpoint. So this is primarily listened to by affiliate owners and coaches. Where do they begin?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I would say, we're of the belief that you have to kind of do it yourself first. Like experiment. It's no different than, hey, how is the level 1 closed? And I'm sure it's changed, but some of the OGs like, all right, so now what are we going to do? We're going to go home. We're going to go open the closet. We're going to snap the broom off, and we're going to ring on the next door neighbor's door and say, I'm going to teach you how to snatch. And they're like, what? And it's in the military, we had in the Army at least, we had this thing: be, no, do. It was a progression. Be the sort of change that you want to eventually lead, and kind of obviously know what you're doing, and then do it and share. But as affiliate owners, as coaches, the experience, we can only lead someone as far as maybe perhaps we've been led in this type of space. Now, I don't think that necessarily means you have to be podiuming at the games in order to teach somebody about fitness, right? About that. That's not, you don't have to be the athlete necessarily, but experimenting and exploring on, what would it look like for 30 days if I intentionally looked at perhaps some of the more mental, emotional components, the environment surrounding my workout, and change and factored, no different than if somebody came in and it's their first day and they have never tasted intensity mechanically, right? They're not able to do it. Okay, we're going to maybe, we're going to perhaps scale to preserve the stimulus, but we're also going to adjust and modify to meet them where they're at physically. You have to start with yourself and understand too, like this is different. This is unique. It might question some previously held beliefs. And if it's doing so, then it's doing its job, because that's just what we're talking about with so much of the psychological tolerances.
And I think when people go through that experiment themselves, they might get a couple days in, and it is a little bit like you're faced with some things, and that is the mindset part. You're faced with some things that maybe are uncomfortable or you don't want to acknowledge, et cetera, et cetera. And, those are probably things people experienced when they first started with the physical. Oh, wow, I feel so out of shape, or whatever. And this is no different. But, yeah, I think doing some of these check-ins, raising awareness, experimenting on themselves, and then being able to speak to it. But, and we do have, that is the space that it's challenging because I don't think anybody is currently in this space with like actual tools. Like, okay, how do you do this? Like people talk about mindset, but okay, it's like, how do you teach that or action it? And that is something like, we've talked a lot, and I've listened to Chris Hinshaw, a lot of his stuff recently. And when he first came into the space, he said people thought he was insane. He was introducing concepts that were so, juxtaposed to what the traditional endurance thoughts were. But, look at how many people he's helped with now, like people starting to buy in, experimenting. So I feel like we're a little bit in that space. In terms of the seminars, like that's something we're striving for, to get the CEU application and, be able to introduce it to the community. We have a couple people hosting affiliates. So, that's kind of, certainly people can access our stuff online, and you don't have to live here and come to our gym. But yeah, so there's sort of a little bit of continuing ed in that, a little bit of experimenting on your own and just starting to be curious.
Yeah, I think you're right though. A lot of people, they kind of, I hear you on that mindset word because it's like, oh, mindset. And it's like, what does that mean? How do you, it's like, how do you develop it?
Right.
And then what's the daily application of it?
Exactly.
So tell me more about the seminars. And then also I know you've got events that you do kind of virtually all the time.
Yeah.
I know you have your gauntlet, if you will, but all these things. And then also just, I know you've talked about it on the show before, but one of the things that you've told me to do and I've done, and I still continue to do, I think it's kind of just been a trickle down from something you taught me, Bill, is one, putting in your earbuds on noise cancellation and not listening to music. Right. And I think that's important. Like I was just talking to a client and I'm like, I feel like I need to be listening to something 24/7 or I'm a turd, I'm not productive, etc.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's like when I actually shut it off, whether it's going for a walk or take a shower, I'm like, oh, kind of magic happens in your brain.
Right.
And I think it's probably a similar magic to what you're trying to help people do. But it's just that idea of like there's so much noise out there.
Yes.
So that's one thing. And then also working out and then immediately journaling.
Yes. Yeah.
So those are probably two practices people can start. Would you explain those for people listening?
Yeah, totally. So when the word mindset, so it very much reminds me of what is fitness in that lecture.
Yeah.
It really is like the same thing because it's like, oh, fit. Oh, that person's fit. Oh, you watch any sport.
Being mindful, right? That's what mindset would be.
Yeah. And so, every sports announcer will say phenomenal mindset. And it's like, was it a phenomenal mindset or was it a phenomenal catch? Right? Was it a physical thing we're looking at or, so what are we talking about? What does it mean? And of course, we're not I certainly am like, I'm very anti-dogmatic and that's like a constant thing I try to go for, but I understand and I have so much respect for what, Glassman did with saying, look, this is what we're suggesting a definition of fitness to be such that it can be done, it can be, shared
Actioned.
and actioned and all of that versus just like referred to as something like a descriptor, right? The difference between a definition and a description. And so one of the things that under this kind of shitty term of mindset is the lack of input or quieting down the external noise allows you to pay attention to whatever is existing internally. And one of the skills of mindset is I kind of think of like three just like right off the top for people to not get too deep in, but attention, intention, and focus. Attention, talking about like our awareness and, looking at where is sort of the mind sort of going, the thoughts, the senses, and all of that. Intention being our purpose and what the heck is the value out of the thing we're trying to do? And then focus being how long can we stay targeted or oriented towards both our attention and our intention. So when we shut off some of the external stimuli, it allows us to raise awareness on our intention, attention, and focus. And music is awesome. Music is beautiful. Noise and vibration and all of that stuff. But it's a signal. It's another signal. And when we move and when we have this skin in within type experience of I'm not having, Eminem get me fired up or techno have me go like beats per minute or, whatever it might be, we see ourselves and what's happening within a little bit clearer. And not right or wrong or better or worse or anything like that. We just allow ourselves to improve a little bit more of the clarity to raise our awareness and simply observe what's going on. And that could be that state of like, wow, I feel myself breathing more, or I hear myself breathing more. Certainly, it depends on how much you're putting, or how like those noise canceling or, little foam plugs or whatever it might be. And so it's a way to partner with the body physiologically to raise awareness about a psychological process. Because the body and the mind are essentially the same thing. They're two sides of the same coin. The journaling, just as a component there, processing. So physiologically, what are we doing? Well, we're cooling down. We just did whatever we did. We're cooling down. We have a little bit of a focus. We're processing. Not to say that what we're going to write is going to be eloquent or a business plan or a contract. It doesn't even matter. The fact is that you're being present and you're having this processing like component to where you're also in a little bit more of that sympathetic or parasympathetic state because you're just being there, cooling down. And you're sort of like, I compare it to during a class, you sort of warm up and do skill and all of that. And that's where you're sort of on a plane and you load and you taxi and they say, hey, we're fifth in line. We got to wait. Okay, boom, boom, boom. You take off, you get up to altitude, you go wherever you're going. That's the workout. The workout is over. Well, we got to land the plane. And so we come down, we cool down, we do all of that physically, well, maybe not so well. We stretch, we do whatever we got to do. We socialize after, which is a huge component and value of CrossFit. Psychologically, let's have a physiological practice that's going to be more on that parasympathetic nervous system state. So we're going to allow our body to open up and receive that stimulus. And then psychologically, and we're going to process and we're just going to have that reflective introspection so that we can have this attunement with ourselves.
It is funny though, when you're saying that, all I'm thinking about is when like the music goes off in a class and people lose their shit. The music! And you're like, okay, like maybe just like listen to your breath, pay attention. And, it is kind of like, it's finding that balance of like not turning the gym into a dojo, meditation center. So playing around with that appropriately and whatnot. But, you also know, Jason, like watching people run out the door, like they just finished their last thruster. They're like, I got to go. And I get it. People have kids. But, it takes a while, like kind of weaving things in to encourage that. So I think that's where, back to what we were saying, for a coach to practice some of that stuff on their own, see what comes up, because then it's the buy-in. Hey, I know that, whatever, I know you kind of might have to go, I get it, but this has been so valuable for me, because people really look up to, and there is so much rapport, far more than someone listening to this podcast, not knowing Bill or I. Someone who's a member, they're going to really value what their coach has found out, value in.
Yeah, no different than nutrition, right? If your coach is following a nutrition plan, your members are more likely to, do it, leading by example. Yeah. But I think everything you're talking about right now is just a microcosm of the entire world, right? Like, it's so easy to just be engulfed in information and noise all day long. Like I was saying, like to the point that I speak to box owners daily who, if they're not listening to a podcast or a book or doing something,
hustle culture.
What is it called?
No, it's like the hustle culture.
Oh, hustle culture. Exactly. Yeah. And I think it was partly when Bill and I spoke, because it was, a little bit during the pandemic time. So it was like, I'd go out on these walks and it was really just nice. And I try to go every morning with, one of my dogs, no phone, no earbuds. I just go out, and it's at first it feels very weird. I'm like 12 minutes, like it's like a little loop, 12 minutes without my phone. Like, A, what if someone needs me? And I'm like, no one's gonna need me in 12 minutes. And B, I'm not doing anything. And I think not doing anything can still be very productive. What's up, Best Hour listeners? I'm here with founder of O2, Dave Kalina, and if you haven't heard about O2, it's a cleaner, healthier sports drink, and the best part about it, only 1 gram of sugar. But what I really want to talk about is the special we have for you listeners.
So the special is pretty awesome. I know I'm biased, but I have to say we kind of went all out for you guys here. If you buy 4 cases of O2, you will get 4 cases for free, as well as a free branded O2 mini fridge, as well as one of these awesome O2 Yeti water bottles, and we'll even have the Best Hour logo on there. So it's pretty good.
This is something I drink every day. You guys know, if you listen to the Best Hour podcast or you watch Dropping In, it's really important to myself and to Fern that we only support companies that we actually endorse and use ourselves. I love O2. I drink 2 a day. You can buy it caffeine free. I do that after 3 p.m. But if you want the one with caffeine, it's a great pre-workout. It doesn't make you jittery. It just makes you PR. So, Dave's the man. He set up a great deal just for us, Best Hour. Check it out. 4 cases, 4 for free, a fridge, a Yeti, and you get our love.
You'll get all 4 flavors, by the way, in those 4 free cases. So you'll have 8 cases total, 2 of each flavor. And I think the best part about O2 is it just tastes awesome. So give it a shot, enjoy it. And we've got a 100% money back guarantee also. So if you don't like it, we'll take care of you, but that like never happens. So
You're gonna love it.
You're gonna love it.
Yeah, and that's exactly one of the things where when I work with individuals or people here, but it's usually more on the individual level, and whether they're coaches or leaders or affiliates, not necessarily we don't work with a lot of affiliate owners per se, and like a business development thing, but people that want to get better. There's a certain person that's attracted to and does CrossFit, and we could probably say, yeah, there's a huge amount of diversity among us, and one of the similarities is everybody wants to get better. That's why they go and they do things that work for them and get them better. And so with that, there's this thing of we're always seeking to get more information, acquire more information. We have access to more information now than we ever have, to include other people's opinions, which is there's like a bit of a danger in that, but hey. But one of the challenges becomes, and this is what I work on with people too, to say, hey, what's the relationship or what's really the ratio between acquisition of information and application so that we then can have knowledge? And the bigger that first number is, the acquisition, I'm listening to every podcast, I'm waking up, reading all the books, doing all the things, I'm always seeking to learn. Great. But how often, frequently, consistently over time are we applying maybe 1 or 2 things? And a lot of people, because out of a place of wanting to be better, are always seeking to acquire more information. The practical application consistently across a good number of looks and different ranges of experiences, that's usually where we can do some work.
So, like you suggested, I and Karianne kind of joke, like, if you show up to class tomorrow and you're like, hey guys, we're not playing music, you're going to listen to yourself suffer or whatever's going on in your brain, they would kind of lose their minds a little bit. So
yeah,
if a coach, so you would suggest, hey, if you're a coach, try this like once a week just to get it going every day.
As far as what, not listening to music?
Just, turning things off, like assuming you're not in class and you can work, like I do it in the garage, right? And it's peaceful too. Like that's the other thing. Like, I think, like I said, I think we're just so bombarded sometimes, even just throwing on Eminem or Beastie Boys, it's like, it's still more noise coming into your head.
Yeah.
It's just nice to have quiet.
Yeah.
To your point, like you do it on a walk. I mean, we're talking about these things as they relate to fitness, but a low barrier to entry might be, like not listening to a podcast when you go for a walk with your dogs, or
even a drive, right? Like just, remember like we used to get in cars and not have phones?
People thought...
And you forgot a tape. What's that?
You'll love this. People, mostly my wife, thought I was insane. One time I was driving back from Fort Campbell. I was stationed down there, and I was driving from Fort Campbell, so like just outside Nashville, Tennessee.
14 hours.
And I didn't turn the radio on or the music on once. And they're like, what are you, a psycho?
That's a long time.
Well, yeah, a little bit. But there's also like, when was the last time you just were with we're just in a state? Whatever that state was, just be in the state that you're in, that kind of presence, without stimulus, without input. And it allows us to have more clarity.
Yeah.
Well,
I think go on.
Oh, go ahead, Kay.
No, I just think to wrap up that sort of like introducing it, some of it might just be not, like doing the no stimulus thing somewhere else, but in the gym, just inviting people to just pay a little bit more attention. Hey, like, I think there's this thing with intensity, like, and there's a lot of people out there saying, don't feel like, just push through, like tune it out, like that your legs are burning or your shoulders or your lungs are on fire. And instead, it might be like, okay, like, can you check in? Like, what's happening in your body? And that's something easy for a coach to just cue a little bit. Like, hey, how are the legs feeling? Okay, they're like really tired. Okay, like just kind of accepting that. What's going on with your lungs? You're breathing heavy. Okay, cool. Like, that's good. We're working hard. Like, your heart's beating. Just doing a little something to pause and just see, like, where am I in this moment? That doesn't mean like playing no music for the entire hour, but just that's what we teach people is little ways. And there's a lot of different tools and skills that are going to be different and approachable for different people given the context.
Well, you know what I think would be cool is at the end of class, and you don't have to do this every day, but like you have 16 people, get 16 pens, 16 clipboards with paper, and just be like, hey, take 2 minutes and write down how you're feeling. Like, I think your members would be like, this is awesome.
Right.
Like, people that never journal would be like, that felt really good.
And there's going to be folks who are going to say, I don't want anybody to read this.
Yeah, but you don't have to. That's for you. Keep it.
Exactly. But that's the beauty. It's like, so we're onto something here. And there's the fine line between like entertainment and having it be too heavy and like, or not entertainment, but like, having it be recreation. Sorry. And so, but if you're interested and if you're curious, and that's one of the things where as then coaches and affiliate owners examining, do I want to, am I interested in having a culture of curiosity with how we're doing this? And that might be, hey, we're going to have one class a week that we're not going to tell you what the workout's going to be. Who's going to show up to that workout? We're going to have one class a week, or, maybe we're going to do this. And there's lots of different things that, we certainly do here on the daily. But, yeah, hey, you're going to, before you go, before you work out, I just want you to assign a color to yourself right now. So not an emoji. There's a person out, there's like a personal thing. Just assign a color to whatever you perceive as your status. Now, the value in that with each individual is, well, what were the inputs to that perception? What are the buckets? What are the components? And that's one of the things we certainly train daily here about the physical, mental, and emotional assessment that we really lead people through, and what goes into that. And there's a bunch of layers to it. But simply, like, if you're a coach or an affiliate owner, do it yourself once a week, just one workout a week. You can spare one workout where, there's not going to be you're not going to know exactly how it's going to go or what exactly you're going to do or whatever, but there's going to be that curiosity, that doing something a little bit differently for the sake of raising awareness about what happens when we do something a little bit differently.
And I think one of the things to mention is because people do want to get fitter. People are looking for, like, how's this going to improve my fitness? How's this going to improve everything I'm doing? We have a client here, we've talked to several, he's a performance coach for the Jets. And I've said this a couple times on different podcasts. When you listen to professional athletes or their coaches, they're doing that check-in with their players. Like, they're checking in on their emotional state before they train for the day. And that's not maybe necessarily because they care about their they do, but it's because it's so important for what's going to guide that training session so that they don't get injured, so that they maximize their performance. So it is also, a correlate to performance. So if people are like, yeah, I'm not really interested in that, I just want to get better. It's like, yeah, cool, this will actually help that as well. But yeah, so that's kind of...
And I think a lot of coaches and a lot of affiliate owners, I know I've been guilty of this, like, you want to implement something like that, and you're like, oh, somebody may not enjoy it, so you kind of throw it out. It's like, well, one person may not enjoy it, but 15 might.
Right.
Yeah.
Or, and those 15 that do are going to get so much out of it that they're going to wind up sticking around this place a lot longer than that one who doesn't have buy-in anyway. Yeah. So tell me more about the seminars that you have going on.
So the one seminar, it's sort of similar to a lot of the, what were they called? Like the specialty seminars, where people can host it. We're hosting one here, which is, in New Jersey, at the end of September. But then affiliate owners can host it for their coaches, other coaches, members, whatever. But yeah, we look at kind of defining mindset, like what is our definition of it and how can you action it and apply it and build on it.
Train it as a skill, not just a description of an action.
And then we get into the psychological tolerance and looking at that as it relates to movement and in your fitness. And then the last kind of objective is to look at ways to action the stuff in an affiliate or in your individual workouts. So it's good for athletes and coaches and affiliate owners. So that's kind of the bulk of it. But we have, if people go to our Instagram, we have a link to it, and happy to talk to anybody that's more curious. But that's kind of the one that is for continuing ed, kind of how to apply this stuff. And then, of course, we have some online stuff that's a little bit more of speaks to the like, hey, try this for yourself. You can engage in some of these online gauntlets, 4-day virtual things.
How often are you doing those gauntlets? I know you just had. I always want to. Whenever I think I'm going to say it right, I feel like I'm going to say an STD. So I don't want to.
I'm not going to help you out. I need to hear you say it. Go.
I want to say it's the syphilis gauntlet, but I'm pretty sure I'm not saying that.
That is definitely
almost
the STD.
there. We got most of the letters.
Sisyphus.
Sisyphus.
So the myth of Sisyphus, basically this dude who cheated death twice in Greek mythology. Zeus got all pissed at him, banished him to the underworld, and said, hey, because you're just like whatever, I'm going to have you push this boulder up a hill in Hades, and when you get to the top, it's going to roll down to the bottom, and welcome to eternity, motherfucker. Like, whoa.
This is our cell, by the way.
Yeah. And so the sort of philosophical approach to that we take through movement is this Sisyphean like repetition of a task that never seems to sort of end. And, we can apply that to certainly challenges and adversity and long distant horizon stuff. And so there's two things we can either say everything is pointless because this is what's going to happen anyway. And we can just live an apathetic life and perhaps a nihilistic existence. And if people want to do that, that's on them. Or we can perhaps look at it more on the lines of like the Viktor Frankl Man's Search for Meaning of not just finding, but making and cultivating meaning and purpose for our lives in the face of our adversities, things that we know we're going to all almost reach the top of our hill at some point, and that thing is going to roll down and we restart. And so, we have these online kind of worldwide like programs that they're not to beat people down, because that takes no skill. Like, do a wall sit for 2 hours, done. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't need any skill to inflict pain. Where the skill part comes in and the creative part comes in is using movement experiences that challenge to enlighten and raise the awareness. And the between the ears stuff and a lot of these programs are kind of akin to sort of these psychedelic like experiences that involve you in a way, in a mental state, an emotional state, a physical state, where you're like, what? I touched something, I'm not quite sure what that was, but I'm interested. And it doesn't always mean it's like smiles and high fives. But therein lies like the difficulty of working through things is where the value also lies.
So there's 4 different kind of events in the gauntlet, correct?
Yeah, it's a 4-day. There's 4 events, 4 workouts. And now we've done it where it's like a weekend, like a kickoff. Everybody does it. There's a group call. Some people do it, like we've had people do it with their team, like, hey, can we do this as a custom thing? But we've done it with people all over the place. They just sign up. Now people can do it on their own.
You can just do
it. They can buy it.
Yeah.
You can do the workouts. You can do the mindsets.
Yeah,
you don't need to do it at a certain start and stop.
Yeah,
they can do it anytime.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
And just go to the website and.
Yeah. You could just buy it like you would, sign up for whatever. It's just, I don't know, new programming or something like that. You could start whenever. And there's 4 workouts. They're each 1 hour. That's intentional, and they have one piece of equipment, and you do one movement, and it's very, very low skill, so anybody can really do them. It's scalable. It's, you can actually, talk to some folks about interest in doing it like as an affiliate thing. Hey, this month, once a week, we're going to do this thing. You interested in kind of doing it? And so, affiliate owners have kind of asked about that, and we've had conversations and. it's cool. So, we use movement to provide us with deeper access to that thing within us, because the mind isn't the brain. And I think we forget that sometimes. And the mind is this intangible thing that we know exists, but it's not just the brain. The body's involved, our environment's involved. And so when we look at sort of mindset or mental fitness or whatever it might be, like, it's not just a function of being always saying, yes, go harder. Like, I've had this conversation with plenty of people and they don't like hearing it, but I'm not going to not say it if I think it's valuable, in that you say you want to do hard things and yet your actions don't align with what you're also saying is your goal of getting better. And if all we do is say, no, I'm just going to do hard things. I'm just going to do hard things. And perhaps one of the hardest things for you to do is take a rest day or pull back and work on technique, drop the lifters, drop the belt, drop the weight, work on your mechanics. That's incredibly hard. Why are we not going to do that if we're saying we're doing hard things? And so sort of like what someone might do in like a motivational interviewing type of session where, hey, on the one hand, you're saying this, but you're doing that. You're saying your values are X, but really your actions are Y. What's going on there? And then, you provide it to the client to then say, yeah, you know what? Because ultimately, this all is client-centered stuff. We do this because we love and want to help people. And, movement is the connection, is the bridge, is the excuse really to gather and say, hey, as human beings, we're here to establish a relationship of getting better. That means different things to different people, but let's go explore.
I think, is it mandatory that it's 4 days? Because I think like an affiliate can host a very cool weekend.
Yeah.
Kick off with an event on Friday.
Yeah.
It's not a mandatory 4 day. The whole thing with it being like the gauntlet, the way I've done it. We've done like a few of them. Dan Hollingsworth, his group did it like over the course of a weekend. And another affiliate did it as well.
You can do it however
you want.
I think it'd be cool to have like a kickoff event on a Friday, hit 2 on Saturday, one Sunday morning, and it's like a weekend of really, getting between the ears.
Yeah. There's a lot of
and each of the workouts, the thing is that each of the workouts are accompanied with a mindset topic. So there's an intention. There's a skill. There's a lot that goes into it. So it's not just like, hey, here, do the workout, 21, 15, 9, blah, 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 blah. There's a whole separate component to it. So,
it's guided.
It's guided for sure.
Cool. So if someone can go to the website, by the way, the website, we'll have it in the notes, but it's Between the Ears. There's no E's in between.
Yes, we are actually redoing our website, but yes, they can go to the website. They can go to events. They can go to our Instagram. They can go to Bill's Instagram.
All the stuff there. And we'll post
Instagram
all
is
those
probably
links.
the better one to go to because the Between the Ears website doesn't have all of the stuff. So just go to our Instagram and just send us a message. And set you up.
And then are you starting to travel around now to do seminars?
Yeah, we have a little. So Bill's starting his actually like working as a clinical therapist because he finished school and got his license. So there's a lot going on. And then we have the Between the Ears gym. But yes, for people who we have a couple of seminars that, are being booked. So if people want to schedule one, then that's probably looking at next year to start traveling around. And we'd love to go to Italy. If anybody in Italy is...
We do have actually a great client, Federico. If you're listening, here you go.
Oh, yeah, Federico.
Yeah.
But yes, so that's kind of... we'd really love to do that. And because we do miss, like, education is something we enjoy. Like, that's been one of my passions. That was, like, my favorite part of... I think one of my favorite parts of owning an affiliate was, like, helping to develop coaches and sharing that knowledge. So I do want to say, Jason... back to your original thing before we forget about it, that yes, it is very challenging coaching your spouse. I won't.
Oh, that's exactly where I was going to go. I wasn't going to let us wrap up without talking about that.
I will say that when you talked about Roz, Bill will actually now ask, can I give you some coaching? And then about 90% of the time I say no. But that's more like movement stuff. He's always right, but I just sometimes don't want to hear it. However, we do a lot of, like, we are a good team, and it has been, like, I will say, I mean, it's tough because he's my husband, but he's been probably single-handedly the person that has opened some doors for me to kind of make progress and, I hate this word, but like have growth as an individual and not be the mental midget perhaps that you knew back in the day.
No, just
But no,
the
it, you know, I've
2010 regionals.
movement,
It's,
movement in CrossFit, like it's awesome, but it can also be very challenging in terms of your mindset. So between the
especially you
years has
were,
been
for the
huge.
record, very high level. Especially back then. It was
Yes, back then.
you were competing at the highest of levels. For CrossFit, and I think for anyone competing at that level, it was challenging.
Sure.
But I think it'd be really cool well, first of all, we're hosting workshops with Best Hour. We actually have one. I'm flying out after this to Virginia to Fernsbox.
Oh, cool.
We're having the Enlifted crew. Like the Wim Hof guy and all the
Oh, awesome.
So that's happening this weekend.
Oh,
but
wow.
we're gonna do more of those next year, and we would definitely need to include you guys in it.
Yeah,
That'd be
yeah.
awesome.
And I always selfishly just want to learn more, and I think it'd be great for couples to come together.
Yeah.
We've
it's
kicked
huge.
this idea around about having like a couples fitness kind of retreat like thing because, and we can joke about it and I can certainly joke about it. And, Karianne, those are, thank you, great words, but like she's also saved my life too. And, coming out of the military and going into the military, I should say, and then coming out, there was stuff that I didn't fully understand or appreciate or know, and I've been out for, I don't know, 6 years maybe now. And it's fucking hard. Like I really have struggled and, especially those first probably 5 years and so. And so, she's been an advocate and just a support system and just has extended me love that frankly has saved my life. And so I'm, forever grateful for her and for that and also inspired to, there's a component, it's a lot. We do have a lot going on, but there is a component where it's like, man, any couple that doesn't work out every day together, because we don't work out every day together, but like that does stuff and is active together, like there's such a union and a bond that we know is established there. And then everybody says like, man, we want to like get away, but we don't want to just like maybe go sit on a drink and drink, pina coladas or beach or whatever. And so we've thrown that around, and I think somebody listening,
You and Roz can be our first.
do it. Somebody do it. Somebody build it and do it.
Well, I think just having that common vernacular, like the common language too, where when you do ask, hey, are you open for some coaching? It's coming from the right place. You understand it versus one person goes through this. And I think you see a lot of couples, the reason they don't work out long term is because one grows and the other doesn't,
Right.
or they grow in different directions. Right.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
that growth together, which I think is what Bill you're suggesting, I think that's huge.
Yeah.
Because I know for me, for men in general, it's like we want to solve this problem, and a lot of times the woman is like, I don't want you, I just want to tell you.
I just want
It's
to
not about the
complain.
nail.
Yes.
It's not about the nail.
Yeah.
No.
Cool. Well, people should check it out. Between the Ears on Instagram. We'll put all the links up. Karianne and Bill's, and you guys are doing great things. I'm excited, and yes, we need to make it happen for next year at the next Best Hour retreat. We need to
We'd love that.
get with you guys.
That's awesome. You guys are
Well, we
doing
hope you
that.
have a great weekend ahead.
Thank you.
Come back
Thank
with some
you.
good breathing exercises.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But in the meantime, I'm gonna go for a quick walk. No earbuds.
All right.
And just get and what I was gonna say earlier is we were coming back from the games this year, and I was like, how it is coming back from the games, you're frazzled, and I put my earbuds in my luggage and checked it,
Oh no.
Really?
and I got on the plane, and I nearly had a panic attack. Like I was like, what am I gonna do? It was like a 2-hour flight. I was like, what am I gonna do
Right.
for 2 hours?
I
and
love it.
and then I just was like, oh, I'm gonna sit here, and it was I came off that flight more peaceful than I've ever come off a flight. I was just like, that was there was like a kid
Yeah.
screaming, and I was like, it's not my kid.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like I was just like,
Right.
basically like in a
Amazing.
meditative state for 2 hours, and I think you hide that, you mask that.
Yes.
Yeah.
with that hustle mode, like Kay said. So
Yeah.
good
Well,
stuff.
thank you for having us on.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Yeah,
Always
we
good to catch
appreciate
up.
you guys hopping on, and I will check out the Sisyphus
Yeah.
Gauntlet. All right.
Cool. All right.
Thank you guys.
See you, man.
Thanks for checking out this episode of the Best Hour of Their Day podcast. We appreciate you listening and choosing to have us help you in your passion for coaching and affiliate ownership. You can find more episodes just like this on all podcast platforms. If you're interested in learning more, you can reach out to us on any social media platforms, or you can visit www.besthouroftheirday.com to book a call. If you found this episode helpful for you, please share it so that we can help other coaches and affiliate owners to help build a bigger and stronger CrossFit community. Thanks for listening.